What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another video. Today we're going over 5 players that I really like, but have gotten close to zero buzz this offseason. First up, we've got Devin Singletary. Average ADP, around pick 95, depends on the site. Basically, when you're looking in this range, you're looking for upside, right? I mean, we're past the range where everything is assured at the running back position. There is absolutely no certainty that anyone past really the top like 60, 65 picks is going to get a strong workload this season. You get close to pick 100, and Devin Singletary is sitting there. He actually has featured running back upside. He was awesome on Houston last season. So if you remember last season, they opened Dameon Pierce. Everyone just figured Dameon Pierce was a guy. Dameon Pierce kind of stunk. They threw in Singletary, maybe like 2 months into the season, and he was fantastic. Towards the end of the year, they were featuring him. They wouldn't take him off the field unless he was like gasping for air. Like they just wanted him out there every single play. And he was great for them on offense. They wanted him back as well, but the Giants were pretty aggressive in going after him in free agency. He got a decent contract as well. It was a similar deal to like Tony Pollard, but it was honestly a better deal than Derrick Henry got, than Aaron Jones got. Like they were aggressive in being like, you're good. We want you to kind of fill this role that's missing now that Saquon is on the team. Is he going to be Saquon Barkley? No, of course not. He's not going to be that good, but you don't need him to be when we're close to pick 100 here. Everyone likes Tyrone Tracy Jr. Everyone wants to think, Eric Gray could be something this season. Eric Gray was putrid as a rookie, and he's missed a lot of camp with injury. He's gotten a little bit of hype. I don't think there's anything there. I don't think he's any sort of threat. And again, everyone's in love with Tyrone Tracy Jr., but we do need to remember that he was a 6-year college athlete. That's a negative. 4 years at wide receiver, 2 years at running back. So he's new to the running back position, also negative. People really want to spin that, right? They want to be like, ooh, okay, so maybe he's just learning the running back position. He's going to get really good at it. Could also mean maybe he's not that good at it if he hasn't learned this position for a while. Also, everyone wants to be like, remember Antonio Gibson? Gibson was like, oh my goodness, he's going to be like a wide receiver out there, right? We see that Tyrone Tracy Jr., 4 years at wide receiver. We're like, oh my goodness, he's basically a wide receiver. They're going to split him out wide. He's going to take all these passing down snaps. His best season ever in college as a wide receiver was 36 receptions. So he wasn't exactly some prolific wide receiver in college. He could also be nothing, or at least a clear backup, right? There's an out here where Devin Singletary is a close to featured running back. Someone, let's just say, getting 70% of the snaps most week. It's on a bad team, a low scoring team. Daniel Jones will steal touchdowns. I get all of that, but we are very late in the draft and we're approaching a range where it is actually handcuffs, actually backups, and yet there's a chance you're getting someone who has featured upside. So I think he's being drafted very close to his floor. He is a pretty good talent. I've kind of been down on him at times in the past, but he basically proves me wrong every single season. He just goes out there and does really, really well, stays healthy, has a strong role. Teams like him. I think that continues this season. Great pick as your bench running back. Awesome player. Jakobi Meyers, after that. Been talking about him for the last month, just being I don't understand why the hype isn't getting higher on him. Wide receiver 62, 44, but then 28 and 25 in points per game over the last 4 years. And if we look back at the wide receiver 64, wide receiver 44, that was when he had 0 and 2 touchdowns. Remember, that was the whole thing on New England, and he could throw for touchdowns, but he was never used in the receiving game once they got into the red zone. It was just so wild. It was he's good, he's capable, but they just never looked his way. Now finally has the touchdowns these last 2 seasons. Wide receiver 28, 25 points per game. ADP right now, wide receiver 54. Yet he's having an unbelievable camp. He's the locked-in wide receiver 2. I know Trey Tucker is kind of getting involved a little bit more in year 2, right? He's getting some deep shots. That's kind of what he is. I don't want to call him a gadget player, but he's more just that person where it's we're going to walk in every week being 2-3 shots to Trey Tucker, because it's super valuable when you have someone like that who can not only stretch the defense, but then actually get behind them and actually score these long touchdowns. That's super important for winning in football. So Tucker's going to have a role, but Meyers is obviously going to have a very strong target share, 71 receptions, over 800 yards, 8 touchdowns, with mostly Aiden O'Connell last season. Minshew's an upgrade. And you kind of look through who he's been playing with, right? He's been a top 28 wide receiver each of the last 2 years in points per game with Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi, Aiden O'Connell, Jimmy G, and Brian Hoyer. So I understand he's not getting some massive upgrade, right? This isn't like Drake London going from trash to Kirk Cousins, right? That's a huge upgrade. That's why he goes way up, when he's producing as he was like a wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4, and now you're taking him in round 2, like the early second round. Huge upgrade there. Meyers, let's be honest, could be playing with the best quarterback he's played with over these last 2 seasons, and yet he's just produced as, a quality flex option back-to-back years, and he's going as the 54th wide receiver off boards. Again, in his season where he had 0 touchdowns, he was 64th. With only 2 touchdowns, he was 44th. And you're going to average that? Are we projecting him for 1 touchdown this season? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And again, Minshew's fine. Like, he's not some amazing quarterback, but you at least know what you're getting with Gardner Minshew, and it's quality quarterback play. It's still a low-volume offense. Myers is probably not going to be a wide receiver 1, but he's definitely going to beat the wide receiver 54, and he absolutely has a chance to be a top 25 wide receiver. He's been hovering around that, and now he's got better quarterback play. Why could he not be a top 25 wide receiver? Third on the list, Jaleel McLaughlin. P. Ryan, last season, 50 receptions. Javonte Williams, 47. McLaughlin, 31. The Broncos had, by far, by a mile, the most receptions at the running back position last season, and that is not a fluke. That is not from quarterback play. That is because of Sean Payton. Sean Payton, that's just how he operates. He is awesome for running backs in fantasy football. If you can identify the most valuable running back on a Sean Payton offense, that is a gold mine in fantasy. Now, last season, it was a little bit weird because you did have P. Ryan racking up 50 receptions on his own, but then doing absolutely nothing on the ground. And you kind of had McLaughlin used in a similar way as well, not used much on the ground, but also racking up receptions. It was like they kind of split it amongst the 3. And you're like, Nick, they're going to do the same thing this season. Not really. So it kind of seems like P. Ryan's on the way out. Now, I don't know if they're going to cut him. We're probably going to find out very soon. But I don't know that he's going to have a role if they do keep him. And I kind of feel like they're going to cut him because why keep him if you're not going to give him a role? Seems like the 3 running backs rolling with this season is Javonte Williams, Jaleel McLaughlin, but then Audric Estime. Now, Estime is not P. Ryan. Estime is a behemoth on the ground, right? He is just a tank, a unit. He's a threat for Javonte Williams on the ground. He's a threat for goal line touches. He is not a threat in the receiving game. So if we look at it and we're like, okay, if we're going from P. Ryan, who was a receiving specialist, to Estime, who's an early down specialist, take those 50 receptions, a ton of them are going to go Jaleel McLaughlin. Like, he's going to be their third down back. He's going to be their 2-minute back when they're losing, which they're going to be losing a lot. Sean Payton loves him. He's an exceptional talent. He was highly efficient last season. Honestly, yards per reception wasn't great last season, but he was great on the ground, so they're not afraid to give him carries. He'll mix in on the ground, but he's going to have so much receiving work. It's like, are we getting kind of like Alvin Kamara light? Like, do we think he could rack up 50, 60, 65 receptions this season? Really, really push to, even in half PPR scoring, you get to 60, 65 receptions. You're having a very strong season if you're doing anything with that on the ground. I also feel like Bo Nix might be good. Now, I don't know if he's going to be amazing. They're still projected to be the second lowest scoring team, but that also just means they're going to lose a lot of games. They're going to be trailing. That's McLaughlin time. So I've talked about how I do like Estime, and I think Sean Payton really likes Estime as well. I think he has upside, especially if something were to happen to Javonte Williams. But I think regardless, McLaughlin is going to have a very strong role in this team. He's going to be utilized a lot more than people think. And because he has that super valuable passing down role, he's kind of the one I want right now. So if I was like ranking them in terms of like ADP value, it'd be McLaughlin, then it would be Estime, then Javonte Williams. But Estime and Javonte Williams would be very, very similar. Estime just because like if you were in like a 14-team league, you'd still get him pretty late. I think that's just really strong value because of the upside. But in terms of like drafting, I'd still take Williams first. But there's a pretty big difference in ADP between Williams and McLaughlin. And I think McLaughlin, especially for those of you in full PPR leagues, but even in half PPR, going in the mid-13th round. That is an awesome pick to make that late. And that's a mid-13th round in a 12-team league. It's even later in 10. Another player, Taysom Hill. I know no one wants to hear his name, but he's the tight end 27 off boards right now. I have him as a tight end 13 in half PPR scoring. Not as good in full PPR. So I've had a lot of people ask me, like, should we be going after him full PPR? I mean, technically, I do have him as a value, right? Tight end 20 in full PPR scoring, but he's not going to have that many receptions. The value here is that he's just going to be used in so many areas, right? He is going to like be their goal line back. He's going to have goal line touches. He's going to be motioned out wide in the slot from a tight end position as a fullback, which will also get him more goal line because they'll use fullback carries for him, as well as use him in play action as well. He'll probably line up at quarterback at times. We'll use him with flea flickers, things like that. Like, he's going to have such a large role. And I know it's like, oh, he used to have that. The old staff liked him, but as a new staff, everything that we've been reading is that the new staff likes him even more, which is like kind of crazy. But the new staff like made it a point to visit with him and tell them how much they love him, how massive of a role he's going to have. And then all we hear throughout camp is that he's being lined up everywhere. He's being used in all areas of the game as like a weapon on offense. Let's be honest. There are very few tight ends going the later rounds that actually have upside. I would say the entire list is like Conklin, Likely, Jonnu Smith, Fant, Gesicki, Dulcich, and Tucker Kraft. That's basically the list, right? But even within that list, the actual upside that many of these guys have is not even top 5. It'd be top 5 if they got unbelievably lucky with touchdowns. Most of these guys don't have league-winning upside. Taysom Hill, if he's going to mix in every single week for like a pass attempt, a couple targets, usage in the red zone, and multiple carries, and you can get that at like, again, the 27 tight end off board, so super late, mostly behind everyone. I think behind Conklin, Likely, Jonnu, Fant, Gesicki. I think then Dulcich and Kraft go behind him, who I do also like. But you're getting him basically free, double dip. If you do happen to miss out on these top 7 tight ends, then you don't go after Njoku, you don't go after Ferguson, and you want to just wait a super long time. You want to go like Conklin and then Taysom Hill and just see, because it's entirely possible that like, at his advanced age for an NFL player at this point, that maybe it's getting overhyped a little bit. I don't think it is though. And if you just double dip later on, you've got that upside to where if he hits, you kick out the other tight end, you trade Taysom Hill if he goes off, because that's also one thing we've looked historically. Little note for draft strategy here. The best thing you can possibly do at the tight end position historically in terms of winning a championship is trading high. Always, always, always trade high in a tight end. If there's any tight end that's a great trade high candidate, it is Taysom Hill. If he goes out there and in back-to-back weeks he has a rushing touchdown with like 2 receptions added in, and he's got like 6 or 7 carries, and people are like, oh my goodness, this guy's gonna be a cheat code at the tight end position, you sell high, you gain a ton of value based on that. But yeah, no matter who you look at, I believe the only player last season was Sam Laporta, and even him, it was like basically even whether you traded him away or kept him. Always sell high at tight end if you are able to. And Taysom Hill, if you can get him for free and then sell high, you're doing phenomenally. Last player we got today is Sam Darnold. And I know no one wants to talk about Sam Darnold for obvious reasons. He's Sam Darnold. But any starting quarterback for the Vikings will be good in fantasy. Cousins was the quarterback 6 through week 8 before his injury last season. Then you have Dobbs taking over weeks 9 through 13. He made starts. He was the quarterback 11 over that time. Nick Mullins made starts in weeks 15, 16, and 18. He was the quarterback 11, 11, and 5. And then you add on, Jefferson was only active in 10 of those 18 games. Like, quarterback 1, whether it was Cousins, whether it was Mullins, whether it was Dobbs, you had a quarterback 1 in fantasy if you just started the starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. I know that Sam Darnold gets a bad rap. We have seen glimpses, like when we were going into year 2 for him, even on the Jets with terrible weapons, terrible coaching, we were like, hey, we're the flyer later on, because he seemed kind of solid in his rookie season. He fell off after that because, again, terrible coaching, terrible weapons. Then he moves to the Panthers, and it's like, oh, great. Terrible coaching again, terrible weapons. It was like he's never really had it. Now he's got the coaching. He's got the weapons, obviously. I mean, it's a stacked offense, right? Well, especially when everyone starts to get healthy. There's very clear upside here, and it's another great double dip pick. If you miss out on the top 11 quarterbacks, don't panic. Take a shot on Caleb Williams, Jared Goff. If we really think Jared Goff's playing, in a dome in virtually every single game this season, 13 of the first 14 weeks, and we think this offense is going to be as good as it is, he could lead the league in passing yards and touchdowns. But take a shot on him, or take a shot on Caleb Williams' upside, or take a shot on Kirk Cousins in this new offense with all these amazing weapons, and then pair them with Sam Darnold. Then you can stream matchup. You can stream who's being hot. You could trade one of them away if they do really well. Or you know what? You're just taking 2 shots on players who do still have lower floors, and then you cut one of them if they don't work out. So that is, I think, the ideal strategy if you do miss out on a top 11 quarterback. But I really just think any week that Sam Darnold is starting, I'm probably going to rank him as a top 10, top 12 quarterback. And we're going to get into week 3, week 4, and people are going to be like, oh yeah, he's throwing to Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. He's getting Hawkinson back soon. We really like Aaron Jones as an explosive player in fantasy. Jalen Naylor's having a great camp. He's an explosive player as well. Like, the coaching staff, like, everything is working out in his favor. All he has to do is be half confident, and I think that Sam Darnold is half competent. So if you got a draft this weekend, good luck to all of you. I have a ton more content and rankings on the website, thefantasyfootballadvice.com. And if you want access to my rankings for free this season, all you got to do is sign up for your first Underdog account today using promo code FFA, make a minimum $10 deposit. That is it. They'll give you a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. And then the following morning, I will email you access to my rankings. If you need access to the rankings that same day, either have to sign up before like 8:50 Eastern in the morning, or just sign up directly through the website. If you go through the website, you'll get the rankings instantly. The second you sign up, you will have access. So good luck to everyone this weekend. But that, my friends, is in this one. Leave a like if you watched this far. Make sure to subscribe if you are new here. But thanks for watching.